We decided that it's been a long time since the congregation got to enjoy a Torah service on Friday night, and it might be nice to bring that back once a month. So tonight I am going to take out the Torah and read from it, and I look forward to when I can give out the Torah honors in the congregation. But tonight, all of the Torah honors are going to go to our cantorial soloist. So we will do this together. On page 245 from Deuteronomy, we read, "Assemble the people, men, women, and children, and the strangers in your cities, to hear, to learn, to revere Adonai your God, to observe faithfully the words of this Torah. And let their children who do not yet know it hear, that they too may learn to revere Adonai your God." We're going to continue with Ki Mitzion on page 246, and then go to the top of 248. If you are able, I invite you to rise.
Ki Mitzion tetzeh Torah, Ki Mitzion tetzeh Torah, udvar Adonai mirushalayim, Baruch shenatan Torah, Torah, Baruch shenatan Torah, Torah, le'amo Yisrael b'kedushato. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. Gadlu Adonai iti, uneromema Shemo yachdav. Lecha Adonai hagedula, והגבורה והתפארת והנצח וההוד, כי כל בשמיים ובארץ, כי כל בשמיים ובארץ, לך אדוני הממלכה, ועמית נעשה לכל ראש.
And if you're standing, I invite you to be seated. I'd like to say some words about this Torah portion before I read from it. So we're in Parshat Bo in Exodus, and it begins with the last three plagues. First, the thick mass of locusts. Yes, they're a nuisance, but worse than that, they completely destroy all of the produce that is left. We are told that there was nothing green left of tree or grass. So it creates a huge food crisis. And then comes the plague of darkness, a darkness we are told that can be touched, but the Israelites enjoyed light in their dwellings. And finally, when the Pharaoh is still unwilling to let the Israelites go free, the saddest plague of all, the death of the firstborn male Egyptians. Why all of this? Why all these plagues? I think the question that is being answered for all at this point is, who is God, or who is a God? In fact, the text says that this is done that you may know that I am the eternal. Remember that Pharaoh thought he was God, and the people probably, after 400 years in Egypt, probably also were pretty tempted by polytheism. So this is a reminder that God is really the one who is in control of nature and who will be the one to say what is right and wrong. So after this third plague of this Torah portion, the 10th of them all, we then get a description of how the Israelites should spend their last night. It is with their doorposts marked, and eating roasted lamb, which serves as a sacrifice of gratitude to God for being saved. On this night, the whole people are acting as priests. They are all performing a sacrifice, and they eat it with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. And they are told that this night will be a remembrance for all time, for us and our descendants. Each year, we should eat these special foods, and holding a holy day on the 1st and 7th day, starting with the 15th of Nisan, days on which there shall be no work. And now we get to the point that I wanted to focus on and the part that I'll be reading. We are told that when we do this special meal in years to come, that our children who did not live through the Exodus themselves will ask, "What do you mean by this rite?" And then we will explain how God passed over our homes when smiting the Egyptians. The truth is, we could just tell our kids about the Exodus without them asking anything. But we have this wonderful passage, and we have others in the Torah which show a great appreciation for questions. The Torah has great pedagogic insight here. We learn more when we are curious, when we open ourselves to discovering truths. This portion encourages us to teach our kids to notice what is going on around them and to make inquiries. And by extension, we too should be asking questions. In fact, did you know that if you do not have children to ask the 4 questions at your Seder table, then an adult is supposed to ask them? And even if every single person sitting around the table is a Torah scholar, still you ask the questions. So on one hand, this portion teaches us about the importance of opening ourselves to learning and to asking questions. But in addition, the Pizetzner Rebbe, Rabbi Kolonimus Kalman Shapira, who was a great spiritual master and who tragically passed away in the Holocaust, he offered a very insightful spiritual perspective on asking questions. He noted that when we ask questions, we enter into a humble relationship with another. We say, "You have things to teach me that I myself do not know." And I think that's such a beautiful thing to think about at the Seder table and when we ask questions, that no matter how much we know, we can always learn from others. And then he goes even further, saying that we should notice that the word to ask in Hebrew, shoel, is the same word as to borrow. And when we ask a question, we are asking to borrow some knowledge from somebody, that we might be able to use it as well. But that in the end, what we should really remember is that all of our knowledge is borrowed. It all comes from a source greater than all of us. And so a view like that keeps all of us humble as we go through life. So that's what I wanted to share with you tonight. I will be reading Exodus chapter 12, verses 24 through 28. And the Torah blessing is on page 250 in the Siddur.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai hamvarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Ushmartem et hadavar hazeh lechok lecha ulvanecha ad olam. V'haya ki tavo'u el haaretz asher yiten Adonai lechem ka'asher diber. Ushmartem et ha'avodah hazot. V'haya ki yomru aleichem b'neichem ma ha'avodah hazot lachem. Va'amartem zevach pesach hu ladonai asher pasach al batei v'nei Yisrael b'Mitzrayim b'nag po et Mitzrayim ve'et betenu hitziel vayikod ha'am vayishtachavu vayelchu v'ya'asu b'nei Yisrael ka'asher tziva Adonai et Moshe v'Aharon ken asu. And the English of that is, you shall observe this as an institution for all time, for you and for your descendants. And when you enter the land that the Eternal will give you as promised, you shall observe this rite. And when your children ask you, what do you mean by this rite? You shall say, it is the Passover sacrifice to the Eternal, who passed over the houses of the Israelites in Egypt, when smiting the Egyptians, but saved our houses. Those assembled then bowed low in homage, and the Israelites went and did so, just as the Eternal had commanded Moses and Aaron, so they did.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu, Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen.